Yum, a bowl of food. Many of you wouldn't think twice about eating, but for me, a year and a half ago, it would have caused great fear. Was I anorexic? No. Was I psychotic? No. So then what was going on? I'm going to tell you what I learned and share my story of hope. I grew up in a small town in Minnesota and had a pretty normal life. I was an active gymnast and an active member of my church. I went on to college at the age of 18 and had a pretty good year the first year. The second year, though, at 19 and a half, is when I started having my first symptoms, which I learned is the average age of onset for the illness that I found out that I have. I started having intrusive thoughts, which are unintentional, unvolitional, unwanted thoughts. I didn't know what was going on at the time, so I kind of kept quiet. I told my mom and didn't really do much about it. But the symptoms just kept getting worse for about 6 months when I finally decided I had to go seek treatment. Upon talking to a psychologist and a doctor, they thought that I had just depression. I didn't really know what else to think, so I agreed. The symptoms got better for about 2 years. That's when I read a passage that changed my life forever. The passage was on blasphemy, and it played on my biggest fear that I might do something that would separate me from God. I started having thoughts that I couldn't do certain things, or it would be blasphemy. So I just wouldn't do those certain things. I mean, how hard could that be? Well, it turned out to be a lot harder than I thought. I started not being able to drink milk. Pretty soon I couldn't face a certain way while sleeping. Then I could barely move. After about 6 months, I finally had to seek treatment. I went to a psychologist, and she recommended that I go to the local ER. At the local ER, they weighed me, and I weighed only 92 pounds. I ended up going to a mental hospital, and at the mental hospital, the doctor told me that I was psychotic. Could I really be psychotic? Was I that far out of reality? I didn't know. But after a week, they finally released me, and I spent the next month at home with my parents. Everything went good for that first month. Then I started not eating again. It was so fear-driven. I was so afraid to eat. I mean, it was playing on my biggest fear. And it went beyond fear. There is not a word that describes the fear that I faced and that others out there are facing. So, I sought treatment at the ER again, and at the ER, again they sent me back to the hospital with the doctor who claimed that I was psychotic. This time a social worker and judge got involved and got me civilly committed. I got sent to a regional treatment center, and I was there for about 2 months. I slowly started eating again, with lots of threats, and everything started to go better. And after 2 months, they finally released me to a local mental hospital in the town that I grew up in. And that is when I finally got an accurate diagnosis of what was going on. I got the diagnosis of OCD. I had read about OCD in school. I had heard about OCD from somebody else, but I never really knew that it could take the form that it took. I had scrupulosity, a lesser known form of OCD, an OCD that deals with religious themes. And today, after months of therapy and medication, I am a totally different person. Today, I am a full-time student, I work 2 part-time jobs, and have normal social relationships. So as you can see, I'm functioning quite fine. But I want you to know that people with OCD can actually thrive, not just live. The goal of therapy is not to just be able to live, but to be able to actually thrive and enjoy life. So, what I learned is that it's important to take your medication. I learned that it's really important to spread awareness for OCD, as there are professionals out there misdiagnosing OCD. And last, there is hope for those of you struggling with OCD and those of you on the road to recovery. Thank you for your time.